A reading from the book of Baruch, chapter 6, the letter of Jeremiah. A copy of the letter which Jeremiah sent to those about to be led captive to Babylon by the king of the Babylonians, to give them the message as he had been commanded by God. Because of the sins which you have committed before God, you are to be deported to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Babylonians. Once you have reached Babylon, you will stay there for many years, as long as 7 generations, after which I shall bring you home in peace. Now, in Babylon, you will see gods made of silver, of gold, of wood, being carried shoulder high and filling the Gentiles with fear. Be on your guard. Do not imitate the foreigners. Do not have any fear of their gods, as you see their worshippers prostrating themselves before and behind them. Instead, say in your hearts, Master, it is you that we must worship. For my angel is with you, personally watching over your lives. Their tongues are polished smooth by a craftsman. They are overlaid with silver and gold. They are counterfeit and have no power to speak. These people take gold and make crowns for the heads of their gods, as though for a girl fond of finery. And sometimes the priests secretly take gold and silver from their gods to spend on themselves, even giving some of it to the prostitutes on the terrace. They dress up these gods of silver, gold, and wood in clothes like human beings, for on their own they cannot protect themselves from either tarnish or woodworm. When they have been dressed in purple cloaks, their faces have to be dusted because of the temple dust which settles thick on them. One holds a scepter like the governor of a province, yet is powerless to put to death anyone who offends him. Another holds sword and mace in his right hand, yet is powerless to defend himself against war or thieves. From this, it is evident that they are not gods, so do not be afraid of them. Just as a pot in common use becomes useless once it is broken, so are these gods enshrined inside their temples. Their eyes are full of dust raised by the feet of those who enter. Just as the doors are locked on all sides on someone who has offended a king and is under sentence of death, so the priests secure the temples of these gods with gates and bolts and bars for fear of burglary. They light more lamps for them than they do for themselves, and the gods see none of them. They are like one of the temple beams, which are said to be gnawed away from within. The termites creep out of the ground and eat them, and their clothes too, and they feel nothing. Their faces are blackened by the smoke that rises from the temple. Bats, swallows, birds of every kind perch on their bodies and heads, and so do cats. From this, you can be sure that they are not gods. So do not be afraid of them. They have gold veneer to make them beautiful, but unless someone rubs off the tarnish, they will not shine. While they were being cast, they felt nothing. however much was paid for them, there is still no breath of life in them. Having no feet, they have to be carried on people's shoulders, showing how worthless they are. Their worshippers are ashamed of them too, since they have to stand them up again if they fall over. Once they have been stood up, they cannot move on their own. If they tilt askew, they cannot right themselves. Offerings made to them might as well be made to the dead. Whatever is sacrificed to them, the priests resell and pocket the profit, while their wives salt away part of it, but give nothing to the poor or to the helpless. As for the sacrifices themselves, why, women during their periods and women in childbed touch them. From all this you can tell that they are not gods. So do not be afraid of them. Indeed, how can they even be called gods when women do the offering to these gods of silver, gold, and wood? In their temples, the priests stay sitting down, their garments torn, heads and beards shaved, and heads uncovered. They roar and shriek before their gods as people do at funeral feasts. The priests take robes from the gods to clothe their own wives and children. Whether these gods are treated badly or well, they are incapable of paying back either treatment, as incapable too of making or unmaking kings, equally incapable of distributing wealth or money. No one who fails to honor a vow made to them can be called to account. They can neither save anyone from death, nor rescue the weak from the strong, nor restore sight to the blind, nor save anyone in trouble, nor take pity on a widow, nor do good to an orphan. These wooden gods, overlaid with gold and silver, are about as much use as rocks cut out of the mountain side. Their worshippers will be confounded. So how can anyone think or say that they are gods? The Chaldeans themselves do them no honor. If they find someone who is dumb and cannot speak, they bring Bel along, thinking that Bel will enable the dumb person to speak, just as though he could be aware of it. And they are incapable of having the sense to abandon those gods. Such is their lack of perception. Women with a cord around them sit in the streets, burning bran like incense. When one of these has been picked up by a passerby and lain with him, she then reproaches her neighbor for not having been thought so worthy to have her own cord broken. Whatever happens to them is counterfeit. So, how can anyone think or say that they are gods? Made by woodworkers and goldsmiths, they are only what those workmen decide to make them. Their makers have not long to live themselves. So, how can the things they make be gods? Their legacy to their descendants is nothing but delusion and dishonor. When war or disasters befall them, the priests discuss where best to hide themselves and these gods. How can anyone fail to realize that they are not gods if they cannot save themselves from war or from disasters? And since they are only made of wood, overlaid with gold or silver, it will later become apparent that they are spurious. It will be obvious to everyone, to nations as to kings, that they are not gods, but the work of human hands, and that there is no divine activity in them. How can anyone still need convincing that they are not gods? They can neither set a king over a country, nor give human beings reign, nor regulate their own affairs, nor rescue anyone who suffers a wrong. They are no more powerful than crows in the middle between sky and ground. If fire falls on the temple of these wooden gods, overlaid with gold or silver, their priests fly to safety, while they, for their part, stay there like beams to be burnt. They cannot put up any resistance to a king or to enemies. So, how can anyone think or say that they are gods? Wooden gods overlaid with gold or silver cannot escape thieves or marauders. Strong men may rob them of their gold and silver and make off with the robes they are dressed in, yet they are powerless to help even themselves. Better to be a king showing off his strength, a household pot of use to its owner, than to be these counterfeit gods, or merely the door of a house, protecting what is inside, than these counterfeit gods, or a wooden pillar in a palace, than these counterfeit gods. The sun, the moon, and the stars which shine and have been given work to do are obedient. Similarly, the lightning as it flashes is a fine sight. In the same way, the wind blows across every land. The clouds obey when God commands them to pass over the whole earth, and the fire sent from above to consume mountain and forest carries out its orders. Now, these gods are not their equals, either in beauty or in power. So, no one can think or say that they are gods, powerless as they are to administer justice or to do anyone any good. Therefore, knowing that they are not gods, do not be afraid of them, for they can neither curse nor bless kings, nor produce signs in heaven for the nations, nor shine like the sun, nor shed light like the moon. Wild beasts are more powerful than they are, for wild beasts can look after themselves by escaping to their lairs. There is no scrap of evidence that they are gods, so do not be afraid of them. Their wooden gods overlaid with gold and silver are like a scarecrow in a field of cucumbers, protecting nothing. Or again, their wooden gods overlaid with gold and silver are like a thorn bush in a garden. Any kind of bird may perch on it, or like a corpse thrown out into the dark. From the purple and linen rotting on their backs, you can tell that they are not gods, and in the end, eaten away, they will be a reproach to the land. Better than a righteous person who has no idols. Such a person is keeping clear of dishonor. The word of the Lord.